Stay tuned. Coming up, we discuss 6 red flags for danger that may be overlooked or ignored at a structure fire. Hello and welcome to Situational Awareness Matters Show, episode 361. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. Today's feature segment is sponsored by Gassaway Virtual Training. There are 33 online training programs for you to choose from. Some of the programs are live events presented virtually with Q&A and interaction, and some of the programs are pre-recorded. To learn more, visit samatters.com website and click on the Virtual Training tab. Okay, let's jump into our feature segment as we discuss 6 red flags for danger that may be overlooked or ignored at structure fires. The tones drop for reported residential fire. On the way, dispatch reports multiple calls confirming a working fire. On arrival, the crew sees fire blowing out the BC corner of a single-story detached residential. The resident is standing in the front yard. A quick inquiry reveals they are dazed and confused about what is going on. You ask if there's anyone inside, they don't know. Almost reflexively, training kicks in. The crew pulls an 1 3/4 line while the lieutenant starts around the left side of the house to complete a 360-degree size-up. So far, everything is textbook. But things are about to change in a most unfortunate way. As the engine crew gets the line charge and advance to the front door, they are met by the truck crew. The truck captain announces the plan. The truck crew will enter and go right on the search. The engine crew will advance the hose down the hallway to the back of the house and extinguish the fire and provide cover for the truck crew. They open the front door and are immediately met by a blast of heavy, thick, black, angry smoke that is blowing out from the top of the jam to the bottom sill plate. The pressure forces the black fire out about 6 feet. The heat is intense. The firefighters belly down and get to work. Because they're firefighters. That's what they do. No one knows yet that 2 firefighters are going to be burned in just a very few moments in that environment. But it's on their minds. At least it's on the mind of the firefighter that I interviewed. Hindsight is always better than foresight. Recall the mission of Situational Awareness Matters is to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. In this case, this firefighter saw the bad things coming, but it didn't change the outcome. The red flags are the clues and cues that provide conscious or overt awareness of what is going on, or subconscious, covert awareness of what is going on. The red flags are the clues and cues that things may not be right for interior entry. Red flag number 1, size up. The lieutenant did not complete the 360-degree size up. He started it. He went around the left side of the house and was met with so much heat and fire that he could not get between the 2 houses. Instead of going around the house to the right, the lieutenant decided to abandon the 360-degree size up. This would prove to be a mistake, as the visible fire involvement on the rear of the structure was intense. But he didn't know it. Red flag number 2, hose line selection. The firefighter thought the fire was large enough to need a 2.5-inch line for attack, but he pulled an 1 3/4 line instead. He later reported to me that he justified the decision in his mind by saying he didn't want to waste the extra time that it would take to pull a 2.5-inch line. I have a different explanation for this behavior, but I'll cover that later. Red flag number 3, interior conditions. When the crew opened the front door, they were met by, in his words, a wall of black fire from the top to bottom of the door, and it was intensely hot. He told me that he'd never seen anything like it. Novel events, things that we see for the first time, are some of the most difficult to reconcile under stress because the brain looks for familiar patterns that are stretched all over our mind from past experiences. Novel events don't trigger any patterns to be matched. No patterns, no intuition. Red flag number 4, the go versus the no-go decision. The firefighter truly felt this was a defensive fire and entry should not be made. But when the captain announced the search crew was going to go ahead and make entry, the firefighter felt obligated to provide for their protection. He told me later that had he refused to make entry and the search crew got hurt inside as a result, it would have ended his career on the spot, or so he thought. The risk of not entering was greater than the risk of making the entry, or so he thought. So he said nothing, and he made the entry. Red flag number 5, inadequate water supply. He was making his way down the hallway in zero visibility conditions. He had his fog nozzle set on a straight stream and was alternating between hitting the ceiling and hitting the base of the fire, though it was a fire that he could not see. He later told me he applied water as he had been taught in training. As he recalls, he flowed water consistently, which differs from how most firefighters are trained to apply water. In other words, not constantly. He noted that the water was doing nothing to cool the environment around him. He realized that he was outgunned. He did not have the water needed to overwhelm the heat that was being generated. But did he leave? No. Unbeknownst to this firefighter, his backup man, who thought it was hot in there, did retreat back to the front door. The nozzleman didn't know that, though, leaving him alone in the hallway. Later, his partner would explain that it was his plan to get out of the environment for just a moment and then rejoin the nozzleman. Also, unbeknownst to this firefighter, the truck crew was overrun by the heat and they had exited back out the front door. I asked the nozzleman if he was aware that the truck crew had exited, since this was essentially the only good reason for him to be holding his position against the fire, and he wasn't aware of it. He noted that if a message was transmitted over the radio to get out, he didn't hear it. Red flag number 6, the flashover. Now he's in the hallway alone. In fact, he's the only firefighter remaining in the structure, but he doesn't know it. What he does know is he's losing the battle. But he doesn't give up. There's too much at stake. He tells me later he could not give up providing cover for the truck crew. He said he would have died there first. And that's almost what he did. The flashover happened in seemingly slow motion. He described it as a scene right out of the movie Backdraft, though he laughed when he made that analogy. The flames came from above, rolling right down toward him. I thought to myself, this is not going to be good, he told me. The heat was intense. He was getting burned. Reflexively, he turned the hose line toward the ceiling in an effort to cool the environment he was in. The flames retreated, but it didn't get any cooler. Now he was enveloped in zero visibility black fire and being baked by the steam that he had generated. Every gallon of water vaporized turns into 1,600 gallons of steam. He was in a bad spot. He didn't call a mayday. He didn't have time. He was in a fight for his life. He didn't think about dying. He didn't have time. The rescue. When the truck crew exited, the captain saw the backup firefighter at the front door, preparing to enter again and rejoin the nozzleman. Instead, the truck captain made the entry, grabbed the nozzleman, now seemingly paralyzed on the hallway floor, and dragged him outside. There in the yard lay the charred and smoked nozzleman. While everyone was out, a mayday was called because there were 2 firefighters down in the front yard, albeit they were out of the structure. In my interview with this firefighter, like so many others I've conducted, he told me that he saw the signs of danger, the red flags, as he called them. There were many. He felt like they should not go in. That's what his intuition told him. But he ignored it all. He did not express his concerns to his captain. He followed his orders and did his job. The truck crew making entry on the premise to search for the victims lasted about 30 seconds inside the structure. That's pretty good, albeit hindsight indicator that it may have been a better decision to ventilate the gases out of the environment prior to making such a high-risk entry. Further, it's very reasonable to assume that an environment that drives out seasoned firefighters wearing full protective gear is not an environment compatible with life for civilians wearing street clothes. It's delusional to think a person who has spent minutes in an environment that drives out firefighters in seconds can be saved. The chances that under such intense conditions, firefighters would stumble upon a body, remember these firefighters are only going to spend seconds in that environment before they're driven out, are very remote. If luck were on the side and they could drag the person out before being caught in the certain flashover, the body's removed, but the life probably isn't saved. Second and third degree burns over 70+% of the human body are not injuries compatible with life. The story I shared above is true. I may have inadvertently made minor alterations or overlooked a few of the details, but the core facts and the red flags are accurate depictions. I see this again and again. The definition of insanity is when we keep doing the same things over and over again and expect the results to be different. Does the fire always flash over when the conditions are right for a flashover? No, there are no absolutes in an environment with so many uncontrolled variables. But when the conditions are right, to make entry is to dance with the devil. And for whatever reason, dancing with the devil seems to be a favorite and revered trait of firefighters. I'm on a quest to understand what compels firefighters to ignore the clues and cues that form situational awareness. Why do some firefighters see bad things coming in time to change bad outcomes and defy the alarm bells or the red flags and take the risks anyway? Is it because we're firefighters and that's what we do? Is it peer pressure? Is it ego? Is it insecurity of having to live up to the macho persona that we have made for ourselves? Is it inexperience? Is it fear of criticism from peers if we don't? Or is it some element of all of these things? Since the start of the pandemic, I've had some amazing opportunities to present my programs on a virtual platform to groups ranging in size from 6 to 400, with recorded playbacks being viewed by over 22,000 people. Here's hoping the new year and the introduction of the COVID vaccine will reduce the number of cases and return us back to some form of normalcy for live, in-person training. As you'll see from this list I'm about to share, things seem to be looking up. On March 4th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series featuring Brian Ward talking about barn boss leadership. On March 8th, I'll be presenting, hopefully live and in person, a situational awareness program for the National Electrical Testing Association's Power Test Conference in Orlando, Florida. On March 16th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series, this time featuring Fire Chief Alan Lewis talking about recruitment and retention. On March 23 through 25, I'll be presenting live, hopefully in person, situational awareness training programs for the Anchorage, Alaska Fire Department. On April 12th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Series, this time featuring Fire Chief Jerry Strike, talking about difficult people and their organizational impacts. On April 23rd, I'll be presenting, hopefully live, Situational Awareness Program at the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis, Indiana. And on April 26th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series, this time featuring John Kriesel, talking about how he lost both his legs in an IED explosion in Iraq and how he's managing through the impact of that event. Then on May 2, hopefully I'll be presenting live in person a situational awareness program for the Hilltop Hose Company in Pennsylvania. Thank you to the organizations that have allowed me to offer your members virtual training, and a special thanks to the 46 agencies that postponed programs in 2020 and are patiently waiting to be rescheduled. If you're interested in hosting a virtual program or a live event, just click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the SA Matters homepage and I will give you a call. Finally, remember to check out the show notes for how to subscribe to our newsletter and how to follow us on social media. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 361 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters show with Dr. Richard Gasaway. If you're interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit his website, samatters.com. If you're interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for a program, or if you would like to be a guest on his show, click the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage.